Hey, welcome in, y'all. It's Jean, and I'm back. If you are seeing me, then you are seeing me on YouTube, which is under authentically unapologetic because why apologize? Sorry, that was a little sidebar. But if you're hearing me, then you're hearing me from authentically uncomfortable. So I haven't hit play yet or record on my for my Spotify one. So I had mentioned in a intermission the last video that if you're seeing me, then you're seeing me here, and I'm going to give you little tidbits here and there on my YouTube. So it's pretty close to the same. The story is mostly going to be, or stories are mostly going to be on that Spotify. This is just interaction one on one. I like personal interaction. So I like to see, not necessarily myself, but I'm a visual person. So, anyways, welcome in. And this is going to be episode 2, but I'm going to hit record on my little phone here so we can get this episode actually started. I got another little microphone over here. I'm going to post my struggles of technical difficulties with all of this. So here we go. Hey guys, welcome in. It's me, it's Jean, and this is my channel. If you're hearing me, then you're hearing me on Spotify. And welcome. This is officially going to be number 2 of an episode. Today, we are going to be going through the McMartin case that ties into the Satanic Panic. Now, I had mentioned in my last video, I went through it with you guys a little bit about Michelle, and Michelle remembers the book that she wrote. And in that book, it's very disturbing, as I had mentioned. There's a lot of things in there that honestly I don't think any child should read because it goes way too into detail of what supposedly happened to her. And as I had said before, it was a hoax. It was completely debunked. She had DID. She was obsessed with her therapist in a way that is disgusting in itself. Larry really failed her. He really did. And I think he fell under that psychosis. They are the perfect example of what psychosis looks like because of her intentions. Her intentions were not even remotely there, or actually, I can't speak for her intentions because I'm not her. And remind you guys, this is for perspective, this is for education purposes only. Um, some of these things, the case that I'm about to go into, he was not convicted. It was a not guilty charge. So, out of respect for that, unfortunately, I understand and know that the court systems don't always work in our favor. And that's kind of what this is really getting into is the fact of how it fails children, especially when it comes to religion. Back then, they, had issues about putting the two together. You can't really talk about religion in a court system. We've seen it with what's his face, because I'm not going to say the religion because it's just, I don't want to get in trouble or flagged. Danny Masterson, that case, what happened with him and what he was affiliated with. So that kind of just hopefully gives you a little perspective on that. Um, Now, to really dive into this case, I'm actually going to move this here. So I don't know the range on that mic. I forgot what I lost my train of thought. But so moving into the McMartin case, right? Now, this case happened or started in 1983, right? Now, when Michelle Remembers came out, it was written was written around the late 70s, but it was published in 1980. So by 1983, this book had already been kind of growing volume, right? Lots and lots of volume. And this book wasn't even written in the United States. It was written in British Columbia. So by then, I believe the hype, the panic had already started, right? Nobody had heard anything, at least I don't know of anything prior to this, of any kind of ritual abuse prior to this. This kickstarted it, and this kickstarted that panic, right? Now, what happened in 1983 with this case and what started it is a woman named Judy Johnson. She went in and she thinks that she notices something was wrong with her child, her 2-year-old little boy. And now I have my little Chromebook over right next to me. Right now I jumped on Wikipedia. There's a bunch of information out there. This is just a quick rundown of it. Now, if you are interested and you do get interested in this case and you want to know the ins and the outs and, read the testimonies of these people, because a lot of people testified, a lot of children, as I said before, this case kind of changed a lot of things for kids because and it's really, really messed up because it's so backwards. Because I just want to say a side note before I really get into this that all of these children were believed, all of them. Okay, that's what started this. Every single one of them was believed. And that's what's very sad to me about this because why this was believed in other cases prior to this was not believed or taken seriously or whatnot, you know, in my personal opinion, the, the how do I say it? Not just the judicial system failed them, but the police department also failed them. And the police department also failed another case that happened years before this, kind of in the middle of the country. This McMartin case happened in Los Angeles, right? The one I'm kind of banking or thinking of as a example of where they were really failed and not listened to was in Michigan. Um, with those 2 little girls and those 2 little boys that were murdered, and then that's a whole separate case, but that just goes to show you how the court system fails kids. It really does. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, especially in this one because they were believed, and it came out in court that took 10 years that the evidence wasn't there. They were pulling evidence from different things that was proven that there wasn't evidence. And now in 2026, we know how to get evidence, right? Especially in something like this. Now, there's been so many arguments. So many arguments. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that surround this case as well. But also, I had mentioned a book, right? And that's actually what I was getting at for um, as a reference that I'm using, right? I do use a little bit of Google, of course. Who doesn't? I don't use ChatGPT or anything of that nature. Not saying there's anything bad about it, but I'm old school. I like to trust old references. So this book that I had mentioned before, it was written by a professor at Brown University, and this book has enough controversy in itself. It has been argued over. Um, Now, the McMartin case is not the only case that's in this book. There's I believe, 2 other cases, and this book goes through the entire case or the testimonies. And it took him, Mr. Ross Chet, hopefully I'm saying that right. Um, Cheit. Sorry, sir, if I'm saying your last name wrong. Um, but other very like minded people have debated this book. They've gone back and forth and whatnot, because I did look up the controversy because everything is controversy and so many things are conspiracy theories now. But I like his perspective. I really do. And he gives you the reasons why he thinks that this was a hoax. And it's very logical and it's very well done. Now, I haven't read the book cover to cover. I've used it as a reference book, right? Because to be honest with you, I don't want to go through this case. It's so disturbing, the allegations that, especially if it comes out that it came out that he was not guilty. And it started out with the entire daycare was being charged. Now, there was different cases that were put together, the way I'm understanding, because in how it works with the loopholes of double jeopardy is they go around. Now they know how to put you in the court systems, you go to trial, you go through the whole thing. And if there's multiple things, like multiple people, if you're convict or not convicted, and you, you pled and whatever of not guilty, and it comes out not guilty, they can go around and charge you for something else. That's how that those loopholes work. And it's worse than chess, to be real. So in 1983, they didn't really know how to do all that. So maybe I think they did it twice. But initially, the number one person that was charged was Ray Buckley. He was the primary defendant. He was a teacher and at the preschool, and he was accused of doing horrible things of abuse. I shouldn't even say that word, of harming numerous children, including accusations of satanic rituals, along with his mother, Peggy, and along with a few others. Now, in the end, Ray Buckley, it came down to him, just him. I can't remember if the cases was dismissed or if, I don't know, but it eventually came down to just Ray. And Ray got not guilty. So now back to Judy Johnson. Judy Johnson had a very small child, and I believe when she was going to give him a bath, let me look this up. I think it was when she was going to give him a bath. Yes, according to Wikipedia, which I'll be able to tell if it's not true or not, but this is what it says. It says in 1983, Judy Johnson, mother of one of the preschool young students, reported to the police that her son had been, um, it starts with an S. I'm not going to say it. Um, yes, by her estranged husband and also by McMartin, teacher of Ray Buckley. So, wait, what? Sorry, I'm reading. I just want to make sure this is true because I haven't seen this yet. It says Judy Johnson, mother of the preschool son, represented the police that her son had been by her. Oh, this is new. I don't know how true this is, but apparently by her estranged husband and also by the McMartin teacher, Ray Buckley. Buckley was the grandson of the school founder, Virginia McMartin. Now, she reported to the police that she believed that her son had been harmed, that began with her son by painful bowel movements. What happens next is still disputed. This has been done. This you can go on YouTube and find all this, right? Now, the one that stood out to me, as I keep reminding you guys, or even saying it, and I've posted it a lot, is a documentary called Satan Want To. That right there will correlate these two things together and how, like, they won't give you the nitty gritty of the case, but that's for you to look into. But the point of the baseline, it's all still there, very still there. And one of the main things was Miss Judy Johnson. Now, no proof has ever been shown for this little guy and all the rest of these little guys. Now, after she made these claims, right? Because she went to the police department. She went right to the police department because she wholeheartedly believed this in her heart. And as they say in the South, bless her heart. I just hit pause on my mic. Turn this little guy over so I can see the green dot. Anyways, so she went to the police department and she pled her case. Now, this is why I believe that the police department handled this so horribly. They don't do this anymore. And if they do, shame, 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 shame on you. Because this is what kickstarts fear 100%. And this is why good police departments don't share information in investigations because it will ruin those investigations. Same thing happens with serial killers or things that happen in your neighborhood or whatever, and you get mad that police are not telling you things. If it's good police work, and it doesn't last, a decade of not telling anything. But anyways, here's what happened. The police department decided to write a letter. They wrote a letter to the parents of this daycare, which I think, forgive me if I'm wrong on the number, but it was like, oh, here it is, 200 parents. So 200 parents got this. Could you imagine getting this letter? I'm going to read it to you. September 8th, 1983. Dear parents, this department is conducting a criminal investigation involving child, starts with an M, Ray Buckley, an employee of Virginia McMartin's preschool, was arrested September 7th, 1983. He wasn't arrested. Wait. Yes. Oh my God. Sorry, misinformation. I didn't mean to put that there. Yes, he was. That's right. Remembering this the day before. So, anyways, I'm going to keep going. The following procedure is obviously an unpleasant one, but to protect the rights of your children as well as the rights of the accused, this inquiry is necessary to complete the investigation. This is where I think they messed up. You investigate one-on-one. That's why they do that now. So these are the little points that I was trying to explain why they do things differently now. Record indicates that your child has been or is currently a student at the preschool. We are asking for your assistance in the continuing investigation. Please question your children to see if he or she has been a witness to any crime or if he or she has been a victim. Now, these are little people. These are little kids, guys, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not quite 6, maybe. Think pre-K. Pre-K. Okay. Where did I leave off? Has been witness to a crime, or if he or she has been a victim. Our investigation indicates that possible criminal acts, including, actually, I can't even say this stuff. All the things that you would imagine that would happen in cases like this is what's listed. Committed under the pretenses of taking a child's temperature. Also, photos have been taken of the children without their clothes. Any information from your child regarding having ever observed Ray Buckley to leave a classroom alone with a child during any napping period, or if they have ever been observed Ray Buckley tie up a child. It's important. Please complete and enclose information from and return to the department in the enclosed stamp return envelope as soon as possible. We will conduct you if circumstances dictate same. I don't know what that means. We ask you to please keep this investigation strictly confidential because the nature of the charges and the highly emotional effect it could have in our community. I'm glad that was said, but no, not done well. Please do not discuss this investigation with anyone outside of your immediate family. Do not contact or discuss the investigation with Raymond Buckley, any member of the accused defendant, family, or employees connected to the McMartin preschool. And this is all in caps, this next part. There is no evidence to indicate that the management of the Virginia McMartin preschool had any knowledge of this situation, and no determined information concerning the operation of the school has been discovered during this investigation. Also, no other employee in this school is under investigation for any criminal act. You judge for yourself, y'all. You judge for yourself. That does not happen today. It just doesn't. Now, the thing that there's a lot of holes with this too is that several hundred children were interviewed after this, right? Because parents, dude, oh, could you imagine? Struck with fear, complete fear, trying to pull out information from a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old or a 5-year-old who they can articulate things, but they can tell you stories, but who's to say that the stories are true? So my next one, no disrespect, this is just what has been out there, because some of these organizations caught a lot of heat because of how they handled it. And honestly, it's well deserved, and it will honestly give you an understanding of how now in situations like this how they talk to children, how they interview children, because it's CII, but I can't remember what it stands for. It's Children Institute of something. There it is. Children's Institute International. They had a big role to play in this. They were basically therapists who interviewed hundreds of children, um, and they were criticized for using suggestive techniques. Now, some of this I wrote down from Google, so just know that if you happen to see it, that's where it is. It's not really copyright. It's just, I just want to make sure I get my facts straight, but I'm also going to tell you that when I do that, right? But in the main key player in the CII investigation was a Key McFarlane. He was the one who investigated, or he was the therapist who interviewed hundreds of kids through this organization, right? Now, Dr. Astrid Heppenstall, oh, I'm sorry if I say your last name wrong, was a pediatrician who examined the children's um, physical evidence of what happened to them, right? Now, Wayne Satz, sorry, I can't say your last name either, Satz. He was a television reporter for the ABC local news in Los Angeles who broke this case. Now, that's the other aspect. It's not even so much how the court cases were done or how they managed them or the police department, all that stuff. The media. Holy shit, the media is extremely 1000% played a huge role in this panic because media put out there, going back to the Satanic Panic too, because the Satanic Panic was tied into this. A lot of those headlines were correlated with the McMartin case because it was all based around ritualistic abuse. So therefore, why not correlate it with a couple years ago from a book and blah blah blah. Now, eventually it took 10 years for it to come to a head, right? Not just with Satanic Panic, but also with this case because of all the craziness of, it was all circumstantial evidence pretty much. Even with the kids, there was no evidence to show that anything physically happened to these kids. Eh, you know, Eventually it started to tail off and people started to not testify, not go back. It started to fall apart. Even Judy Johnson, unfortunately, she self-harmed herself eventually down the road, but it also came out too that she was schizophrenic. So yeah, who's unmedicated schizophrenic. And that right there is psychosis. That's what psychosis looks like on that level, right? Now, you fast forward this like early 90s. I'm going to look up her name because I said it even in an intermission video about her, and I feel terrible that I cannot remember her name, and her name needs to be said. But she was the wife of Larry. See if it comes up. Charian. See if it pops up. Oh, his last name is Pazzer. So let's see. Yeah, all right. Copy and paste this real quick. Sorry for the pause. Especially if you're listening to me right now, I'm just trying to look up her name because like I said, she really needs to be remembered. Why didn't it? Ooh, I have been using iOS and Apple for too long. This is my Chromebook. All right, let's see. I'll just put it in Pacder. She put him first wife because, like I said, Miss Michelle, actually succeeded. This is really sad because um, of this woman, this poor woman, man. She had to put up with a lot of shit. Marilyn, that's her name. Marilyn was married to Larry Pazder, and Larry Pazder is the psychotherapist of Michelle. So Miss Marilyn, after hearing about all this stuff and watching this case, right? Because she's in British Columbia, y'all. Like, that's how big this got. Satanic just blew the fuck up, like huge, all around the world. And she caught wind of it. And there was another woman who ended up going to jail. She was another teacher, except for she was a preschool teacher. And she ended up in jail for 48 years for being accused of harming children as well. And same kind of jazz. There was no evidence, but yet they sent her to jail for 48 years, but they didn't send Ray Buckley to jail, right? Which was really weird, in my opinion. Women are targeted in the court system. I'm just saying, yes, I am one of those females that will say that. But I don't need to just say it. The evidence is right there and statistics is right there. But anyways, Miss Marilyn, decided to reach out to the head investigator that was dealing with all this stuff with this daycare. And she could not, it hurt her heart way too much. So many people were destroyed by this book, okay? And now, not only did she have to deal with her own heartbreak and own consequences, I guess she got consequences that she didn't deserve. And one of them is she lost the love of her life. Her kids lost their father to psychosis and obsession and all that stuff. And now people are, being charged, and it's gone so fucking far by this point. She felt like she needed to do something. So she did. She reached out to him and she told him everything that she had experienced. She had all the receipts, she had all the proof in the world to show that this was bullshit. So she played a huge role. And kudos to you, ma'am. Kudos to you. Because I am so sorry that this happened to you. And, that you had to watch this play out. And yeah. And Michelle treated you the way that she did, that she treated a lot of people. But anyways, back to McMartin. I think by 1992, he was found not guilty. Things started to fizzle out, on the media world in terms of the Satanic Panic. It had already been done. It changed our culture completely. It changed our culture in the 80s. Um, Many religious people back then, um, even now, you see it now. You see it more now in like very, very strict religious groups. But in my family, it fizzled out because I woke up to it and I, decided to fight to be a real kid. Ooh, sorry. Almost knocked my video over. But yeah, just to be a normal kid. But I remember as a child that, sorry, family, I'm going to tell this story. I'm not going to say who or whatever, but when I was a little girl, I had a gathering. And because certain music, certain things were labeled as Satanist or evil, that some cousins weren't allowed to listen to some music. And by this time, I had already, pulled away and told my dad, and he didn't fight me on it because he understood it. And it became a problem with some people. And in other families, it is a problem. They're not allowed to watch TV. They're not allowed to listen to certain music. They're not allowed to play with certain toys. Now you see it with, certain boys are only allowed to play with certain things. Certain girls are only allowed to play with certain things. It's very controlled, basically. It's very, very, very controlled. And it causes massive harm when you control people that way. On a normal scale, most teenagers are going to rebel, right? So, as a teenager, if you're told you're not allowed to listen to music, or you're told you're not allowed to play with these toys or do this type of research, God, I feel bad for you guys now. Internet, I can see why is bad to some people because there's so much information, and yeah, they just control, control, control. And that's what Satanic Panic did, is it quote unquote gave you examples of why you need to keep this away from your religious kids. If you're following God, this is not from God, blah, blah, blah. And then, I'm tangenting and digressing, but you rewind it back to that fear, and that's what happened in the 80s. You don't really hear about realistic or ritual abuse that much. I mean, you do when you cross over to the conspiracy side, but you really don't see people coming forward like that anymore, unless they're my age, which is wild. I have not yet seen, and if you're out there, we can have a chat. I'm very open minded. I don't judge, I don't do any of that stuff. But for understanding, if you're under the age of 30 and you've experienced this, that's what I'm talking about. If you're over the age of 30, because at 30, you were born in the 90s, right? Around 90 ish. So you were born at the end, right? Um, that's the older millennial, sorry, younger millennials. I'm an older millennial, and so I remember all this stuff. Now, if you are young, you might remember, or actually adults would remember this too, because this is recycled. And this is the last part of how I'm going to wrap these two things up, right? This information has been recycled and recycled and recycled. We saw it in 2020 when the world shut down and everybody was able to kick back and watch documentaries, right? And they were able to do them. This one I'm going to refer to, I don't remember the name of it, but I do know that it was pulled off of every platform there is because it was so badly of misinformation. And maybe that's why you don't hear about it now, is because it's labeled as misinformation. Pizzagate. Yep, I said it. It's recycled information. So much so that when I was caught watching it, right, I started to fall for it. I'm like, wow, this sounds all familiar. Why does this sound so familiar? And now I mentioned in my intermission, and I'm going to mention it again. I had no idea what Satanic Panic even was. Not a freaking clue. I lived it, but I had no idea it was a thing. It made sense, but in this moment, as I'm watching this video, it tied into Pizzagate. And then this is when QAnon started to kind of hit the scene, right? And now they're labeled as a terrorist organization, which as they should be, because they cause massive harm, not just panic, but physical harm. So you go back, right, to this Pizzagate thing in 2020, and I was like, oh my God, this is what my parents been trying to tell me about for all these years. And then as I'm chatting about it with a friend, and we're both like, oh my goodness, da 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 da. And then we both kind of realize in our own ways, in our own time, that this is bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. Oh shoot. As I'm knocking things over, getting excited. But it's true. It's bullshit because it causes fear, right? Now, you fast forward a little bit longer, a couple years or so, and all that stuff with Epstein comes out, right? And then he's unalived. And then, here in 2026, at least in 2024, the releasing of the files and blah, 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 and everything that's come to light and all of these correlations, I realized this is a game I used to play when I was a kid, because I'm neurodivergent, so I can see patterns. Pattern recognition with stuff like this, I can see. Numbers, not so much. But stuff like this, I catch on eventually. And I'm like, oh my God, this is familiar. This is a little too familiar. And oh, yeah, the game, the two truths and a lie. It's right there. Epstein is exactly that. Except for manipulators and people who cause harm, they switch it back on you and they give you two lies and the truth. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing it all over the media. We're seeing it all over um, everywhere. I say media, but that kind of covers it because, and there's some really, really well done documentaries about him done too. So I'm trying to, like I said, give you perspective and show you these dots or this pattern that I'm seeing, right? When it comes to religion, as they say, and discovered this new term, is I'm a cradle Catholic. Okay. So been around it my whole life, or religion, I should say. And yeah, I hope this gives you guys perspective. McMartin, I can go so far and deeper and more into this, but I think honestly, I don't have to, because I'm kind of saying what needs to already be said about it. And if I miss some things, leave some comments. Let me know. Reach out. I would love to talk to other people about further about this, because, or even what they think about it. What do you guys think? Um, please look into it. So that's about it. That's my wrap. I'm at 35 minutes so far, and I think that I'm just going to leave this there. If I think of anything else, I'll just drop it in a thought, whatever, on my YouTube. So if you haven't popped over to my YouTube yet, please show some love. I really could use it. I'm such a brand new content creator that, I desperately, yeah, I said it, desperately would love to see that people are here. I can see that there's a lot of views, but I would just love to show the acknowledgement that you like what I'm saying, maybe, or that you don't like what I'm saying. So, yes, YouTube, if you're seeing me, this is authentically unapologetic. If you're listening to me on Spotify, this is authentically uncomfortable, because I want to talk about these things that make people uncomfortable. And yeah, and help you understand too what delusion and psychosis is. And I hope I'm explaining it well. And if I'm not, please, I'll do a whole separate thing explaining, deep diving into religious psychosis. Maybe I might do that anyway, just to get that out of the way. But yeah, much love. Oh, little sneak peek of what I'm going to do into this third episode is Waco. Yes, I'm going there. We need to talk about it. We need to talk about it because not only is it it's a cult. He started a cult. Two, it kind of goes through a lot of what I'm talking about with the psychosis. It also has everything to do with our government, because the FBI was involved. And it has been known as the worst decisions made by the FBI when it comes to all of this. And this is another reason why I think, my opinion and perspective, why they don't get involved. They don't stop churches that are, you know, uh, labeled or is legally a church. And one of them starts with an S. And that's all I'm going to say um, about that. So, yeah, hope you can join me. Hope you like what I'm doing, because much, 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 much love, guys, and so much respect. Remember to always stay authentically you, no matter what it looks like, even if it's uncomfortable. Even if it's uncomfortable, you got to do it. You got to be you. Just don't harm anyone. And, if you're uncomfortable about it, don't apologize. Just say you. Okay. All right. Again, my name is Jean, and if you're seeing it, it's under green, but it's going to be changing here soon. It's long overdue, because I need to do it professionally. So, yeah, I love y'all. Take care. If you're still seeing me, I love you guys. Take care. I just had to shut off my recorder. Peace out.